As we all know that India is in the range of intermediate endemicity, and that we say by HbS-Ag prevalence. If it's between 2 to 7%, then we say intermediate. And in our country, the HbS-Ag prevalence ranges anywhere from 2 to 4.3% in children. Now, we all know that HBV is transmitted both by blood transfusion, fluids, organ transmission, and it is much more easily transmitted than HIV or HCV. And there are various hepatitis B markers which you have to understand if you have to interpret any child who's got a chronic or an acute hepatitis B. HbS-Ag is the Australia antigen. If it is positive for more than 6 months, we say that there is chronic infection. Anti-HBs is the protective antibody which develops either after you vaccinate a child or if a child gets infection and he is seroconverts. E antigen is the marker of viral replication. It means that the virus is replicating. Anti-HBe usually suggests that the viral replication has gone down, but it is not protective, and it is considered as a marker of seroconversion in patients who are E antigen positive when you are starting treatment. The core antigen is not detected in serum, and the IgM anti-HBc is a very important marker for diagnosing acute hepatitis B. If you are having a patient with acute hepatitis B, he will be HbS-Ag and IgM anti-HBc positive, and in the window period, he may just be an IgM anti-HBc positive. And HBV DNA is the most important marker for replication, and serial levels are required whenever you are going to manage a patient with chronic HBV. So you cannot manage a child with hepatitis B, chronic hepatitis B, without doing his HBV DNA level, because that's the single most important marker of his replicative status and viral load. And the important thing here is that the age at which you get the HBV infection is directly correlated with the chances that you will have a chronic infection. If you get the infection at birth, 90% chances that the child will become a chronic carrier. If you get the infection at somewhere around 5 to 6 years, 25 to 30% chances that you will become a chronic carrier. Whereas if you get an infection as an adult, it's less than 5% chances that you will become a chronic carrier. So most of our children, as John has said, that in our country about 50 to 60% are vertically acquired, and so they have a very high risk of having a chronic HBV infection. And this slide is important because this is the phases through which the hepatitis B goes once you get the infection. When a child gets the infection, the first phase is of immune tolerant phase, where the virus is multiplying actively, he is happily sitting in the body. The body is not showing any response to it. Therefore, the ALT is normal, the histopathology will not show any necrosis, the DNA would be high, the E antigen would be positive. Then this phase can last anywhere from 10 to 30 years in a vertically acquired, and then there will be a phase in which the body will start mounting an immune response. And once the body starts mounting the immune response, the DNA will start going down and the ALT will start going up. This is a marker of necrosis or lesions in the liver, and therefore the ALT will start going up. And then after this, the E antigen may seroconvert, the HBV DNA will become undetectable, and the enzymes will settle. And thereafter, the patient may remain as a carrier state, where you will find that his E antigen is negative, his anti-HB is positive, and his HbS-Ag may or may not remain positive, but his viral load would be very low. So these are the normal phases of HBV replication. And so the natural history, as I told you, this is the immune tolerance stage. When the patient goes into the immune clearance phase, you have a high ALT and the DNA starts going down. In an inactive carrier, the important thing is that the E antigen is negative and the DNA is less than 2000 and the normal ALT is there. What you have to remember is that an inactive carrier can continue to be an inactive carrier. It can resolve this and become even HbS-Ag negative, and it can also revert back to an E antigen positive state. Meaning thereby that once you have a patient whom you have declared an inactive carrier, does not mean that he will continue to be an inactive carrier all his life. He has all the three possibilities, and so any child who's got an hepatitis B infection needs monitoring and needs follow-up for a lifetime, unless you have shown that HbS-Ag becomes negative and anti-HbS becomes positive. That's the time when we say that yes, most likely the infection has been resolved. But even here, the entity of what is known as an occult hepatitis B. Occult hepatitis B is a condition where the patient would be HBsAg negative. He may be anti-HBs positive, but the DNA continues to be there in the liver and even in very low quantities in the serum. And these are the patients where if you treat them with lymphoma chemotherapy, the HBV will come back, and that's the reason we ask for an anti-HBC, which will suggest that this child has sometimes been in his life been exposed to. So the message here is that once infected with hepatitis B, no matter what you do, he is always infected with hepatitis B, and the virus can come back at any point of time. In Indian children, we have two studies, one from Dr. Sereen's group and one from our center, where we had 335 patients, and you can see that it's only about 8 to 10% of HBV related disease which presents as chronic liver disease, and somewhere around 1 to 4% which presents as HCC. Most of the children are asymptomatic, incidentally detected, and somewhere around 15% are those who are presenting as an acute viral hepatitis due to hepatitis B. And as it has already been said, vast majority is perinatally transmitted. So hepatitis B you may have as an incidental detection. The child is going for some surgery, you have done a blood test, he's been found to have HBsAg positivity. That's the most common scenario. It may present like in acute viral hepatitis, acute liver failure, chronic liver disease, hepatocellular carcinoma. You screen these high risk group patients like we just discussed, and very uncommonly but still presenting as nephrotic syndrome and even serum sickness like illness. So acute viral hepatitis, if you have a setting, you should always ask for HBsAg and anti-HBC. If you're wanting to screen for hepatitis B, there is a setting that this child has received a transfusion or something. And if you find that he is IgM anti-HBC positive, then you can say that acute HBV is the cause of this acute viral hepatitis. If he is IgM anti-HBC negative, then he may be carrying this HBsAg for no matter how much period of time, you cannot say that. And there you have to look whether his hepatitis A, E is positive or not. And here you don't need to do anything except for this fact that you repeat his HBsAg after 6 months to see whether he has cleared the infection. Most of the children who have an icteric presentation of acute hepatitis B, more than 95% will clear this hepatitis B infection. If the child presents to you with an acute liver failure, you give the standard management, use universal precautions. As I said, use this opportunity to screen and vaccinate family members and send this E antigen, anti-HBV and DNA. And this is the scenario where there is a role of antiviral drugs in a patient who's got an acute hepatitis B. Here, as I will be discussing in the following slides, you have to use oral antivirals in a patient with ALF, and this has to be given for at least 6 months after he's become HBsAg negative and anti-HBs positive. So this is a condition where you will use antiviral if he's having ALF because of acute hepatitis B. Incidentally, most of the patients are asymptomatic. You take a good history, identify the source of infection, do a good physical examination, do LFT, do an ultrasound, screen and vaccinate, and repeat HBsAg after 6 months. If you find that he is still positive, you know that this is now chronic hepatitis B. Okay. If you after 6 months you find it is negative, nothing needs to be done. If he is positive, then we have to evaluate further. And evaluating further in a chronic HBV would include clinical examination, LFT, E antigen, anti-HB, HBsAg and HBV DNA, and the ALT. Now, if you find that these enzymes are normal, he is E antigen positive and he's got a very high viral load, he is in the immunotolerant phase, there is no need of any therapy outside clinical trials. Whereas if you find that his E antigen is negative and his DNA is very low, less than 2000, then he is an inactive carrier and still you do not need any treatment. So these are the two groups where you will not treat the patient. And if you find that his E antigen negative and his DNA is more than 2000, this may be a patient with a precore mutant, but because his enzymes are normal, you will not treat. So in the normal setting, normal ALT, the patient is either a immunotolerant phase or an inactive carrier, there is no need of a treatment. Whereas if you find that his SGPT is raised, then is the point where you have to decide to treat. And there, if he has got a high viral load, E antigen positive, he is a E antigen positive chronic hepatitis disease, you may do a liver biopsy and decide about treatment. if he's E antigen negative and has got a viral load which is lower than this cutoff. Here you see it's 20,000, here it is 2,000. This is E antigen negative disease, and you may decide about treatment. But if you have a setting where you have high transaminases and the viral load is very low, this is a place where you have to start thinking whether this is all due to HBV or is there any other cause. But the important thing here is that don't start treating just based on one reading. You have to do serial LFTs and DNA for LFTs for at least 3 to 6 months, because even in the normal course, if you find that a child is having spontaneous seroconversion, his ALT will go up and it will remain elevated even for 6 months after he has become E antigen negative. So don't jump to start treatment with one reading. Always do serial LFTs for 3 to 6 months to make sure that yes, the LFT is deranged, the viral loads are high, and only then make up your mind to decide about treatment. And in the biopsy, if there is moderate severe inflammation, if there's more of fibrosis, or if there's a very strong family history of HCC, these are the pointers which will make you think about requirement of therapy. Now, there are certain special conditions where you would not think about the ALT and the DNA levels, and you will decide about treating. These are a child with decompensated cirrhosis, a nephrotic syndrome where you have a renal biopsy demonstrating membranous glomerulonephritis, a recurrent HBV after a liver transplantation, or if you are getting a graft from an anti-HBC positive donor, or you have a child who is going for immunosuppression or chemotherapy. These are the settings where the HBV DNA and the ALT levels do not hold this thumb rule, and these are special situations which would require treatment. The drugs which we have are lamivudine for more than 3 years, interferon for more than 1 year, and the rest of the other drugs are more for older children. But you have to understand that in the pediatric age group, it's mostly the E antigen positive infection is the most common scenario. E antigen negative hepatitis is rarely seen in children, it's much more commonly seen in adults. And these are the doses in which you have to treat. These is interferon 5 to 10, lam 3 mg per kg, edifovir 10, entecavir 0.5, and tenofovir 300. The therapeutic endpoints, this is a concept which I want you to understand, that the first thing which happens is that the DNA goes down, then the E antigen becomes negative, the anti-HBE becomes positive, and then the surface antigen goes away, and then anti-HBS becomes positive. Most of the therapeutic endpoints in patients who are E antigen positive is that you lose this and you develop this, which we say as HBE seroconversion. But if you have a patient who is E antigen negative, then you do not have this endpoint, and virtually most of them will require treatment for lifelong. So the second message here is that HBV treatment is not a very simple thing, especially in chronic hepatitis. You need to understand and monitor them, because the drugs which we have are few, and with growing resistance it may become difficult to manage them. So not all children with HBV need treatment. Only a select few needs treatment, and do not try to treat all the children, because we get many patients where lam was given for 1 month, stopped, then edifovir given for 15 days, stopped, entecavir given for 15 days, stopped, and then you are left with no other option. You don't know what to do, how to test for these mutants, how to manage these patients. And now the important scenario for us is a mother where HBsAg is positive, and here, apart from the evaluating the mother for the HBV DNA load and treating her to preventing the transmission, I will not go into the details. You have to vaccinate this child, and you have to give this HBIG within 24 hours of birth. And all these children whom you are treating like this, you have to follow them up with an anti-HBs and HBsAg at 9 to 15 months of age. If you find that the child is HBsAg positive, then obviously you know that your vaccination has not worked. If you find that his HBsAg is negative but his anti-HBs has become positive, this is a good sign. He is seroconverted, he is protective. But if both are negative, that it means that your vaccination, the child has not seroconverted. And here you will have to repeat the 3 doses of vaccination, and after 1 month do an anti-HBs, and an anti-HBs titer of more than 10 is what is considered protective. So prevention is the best method for HPV, hepatitis B vaccination, especially universal obviously, but apart from that, all these high risk patients you should screen and vaccinate. Proper screening of blood products, and obviously in those who have cirrhosis, they need surveillance for HCC also. So to conclude, I would like to say that HPV can cause AVH, ALF, CLD, HCC. Younger the age at HBV infection, more are the chances of chronicity. Newborns 90%, younger children 25-30%. Chronic HBV in large majority is asymptomatic. In our country, perinatal transmission accounts anywhere from 50 to 60%. Reactivation of the disease and disease progress can occur even after E antigen seroconversion. Therefore, these patients do need follow-up. HBV DNA viral load is essential for evaluation. Treatment is required only in a specific situations, and in pediatric age group, because of the time-bound treatment and no resistance, interferon is still the preferred therapy in children. Oral antivirals are the second line, and judicious use of these oral antivirals is required because there is high risk of resistance. Use this opportunity to educate the patient about other hepatotoxic factors like obesity, and in the adolescents about IV drugs. Lifelong follow-up in chronic HBV is essential, and always check all the family members and vaccinate them whenever you have an index patient of hepatitis B. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anshu. Any quick questions? Dr. Anshu has to catch a flight, but I'll request all of you to be here for just 5 minutes. 5 more minutes. You'll not get your certificates if you go out now. So, any questions? Any questions for Anshu? Yeah?
See, after vaccination, the antibody titers may wane down.
Yeah, I know.
But whenever the child is exposed again, there is a response and the child will develop a response. So you don't need boosters or you don't need serial monitoring of anti-HBS, except for us doctors. Because there, if you are in a high-risk position where you are at risk of getting needle exposures and other things, then it's always good that once you have completed your vaccination, you should at least once get an anti-HBS titers to make sure that yes, you have seroconverted.